Welcome to our Dream to Rise podcast. This is Cynthia Concordia. I am honored to have our guest, who is a core energy relationship and business executive coach, a national speaker, author, and trainer. And with a master's in business from Cornell University and a liberal arts degree from Middlebury College, he combines a deep understanding of people, systems, and business growth. His experience as Vice President of Development and HR for a 1,000 employee organization provides him with valuable insight into complex, high stakes relationships, whether among employees or executives. His dedication to his clients' unique goals is what truly sets him apart. He works with individuals, couples, and leaders, offering clarity, skill building, and the motivation to excel. If you're ready to transform your personal and professional life, partnering with him is your first step toward unparalleled success. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest, Ms. Matthew Hoffman. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you, Cynthia. Great to be here with you today.
Same here, and it's a great honor to have you here as our guest. I'm sure you have a lot of things or insights to share to our listeners.
Absolutely. Look forward to giving some pearls that hopefully they can use themselves.
Of course, gems, not only pearls.
Gems and diamonds. Those are a little more valuable than pearls. I agree with you.
Okay, let's start because again, the concept of this podcast is to inspire and empower our listeners who have been stuck in their dark bubble and having difficulty moving forward towards the dream. Probably you could share with us about yourself that brought you to where you are right now.
Sure. Absolutely. It is totally normal to feel stuck in different things. And, I love to use the analogy, Cynthia, look, we're all sculptors, right? And we all have a block of marble in front of us and we're chipping away, trying to make it look like what we want it to look like. We have a vision of where we want to be. And sometimes we look at where we are and it just doesn't look the same. And that can be frustrating and debilitating. And I think, a little quote that I've heard and people that I've worked with is that we're often best suited to serve the person or the people we once were. And I'm in a blessed relationship with my wife. We've been married. We're coming up on our 32nd anniversary this fall. And I can actually honestly say our relationship is better than I ever thought it was. But that wasn't always the story. And, about 20 years into our relationship, we had 3 children. We were both involved in our churches, our community organizations, our kids' school. We had all kinds of activities, sports, personal things, personal volunteering, yet we had become so focused on ourselves and other things that we had begun that slow drift from each other in our relationship. And I think there was no question of divorce or infidelity or anything like that. But I think that when we had the opportunity to either love and support each other or twist the knife, in the back of the other one, we chose the latter. We were not building each other up, investing in each other. I think we were both a little dissatisfied and we kind of looked at each other after an argument and said, I'm not happy. This isn't what I thought. This isn't what I want. And so, we decided to lean into each other and we got counseling. We sought therapy. We read books. We took video classes. We went to retreats. I mean, we went through everything and we did a lot to bring us back together where we both are really strong people of faith, Cynthia. And so our spiritual development, our faith, our work on that side, I say was number one, so we could each confidently say that we looked to a divine power as number one in our lives. And then after that, we looked at each other. But that hadn't been the case. We were prioritizing too many other things over each other. So something had changed and put other things in second, third, and fourth place instead of our relationship. And so that kind of took me on a journey to write my first book. The title of it is Kick-Ass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. And it's a handbook, not just for men. I'm a husband and a guy, so I can only speak from my own perspective, but it really was meant to teach people what they can do to create the relationship of their dreams and get that prioritization back on track. So our relationship is giving us everything we need and then also spilling over success spills over to the other areas of our lives. I coach people in business and I coach people in relationships. So when someone in there says, I'm going to work so hard at my business, when I make the money, when I get the job done, when I do all those things, then my relationship will be good and I'll be happy. And that's a huge mistake. I really am a firm believer that when we're in a committed long-term relationship and it is going really well, it's going to inform and give the success in the other areas of our lives. And so that's what my focus is. I teach people how to prioritize what's most important and bring the right kind of energy to get the results that they're looking for.
I know you are also a coach in an organization for executives or employees. I'm trying to associate marriage and coaching in a business world, but usually it starts really when you have a good relationship with your spouse. It's a lot easier for you to coach your colleagues or even executives. Now, we often hear about work-life balance, but you talk about empowerment in both spheres. I know you empower individuals in the business world as well as your spouse being the best version of themselves. So, what is the fundamental skill that translates perfectly a successful marriage to a successful business?
Absolutely. Well, I think, there's three kind of foundation. I have 14 pillars in my platform of, I think, all the qualities that have to be in every successful relationship, whether it's a business or a personal one. But the foundational ones I call the 3 C's. And I would say that that's commitment, communication, and conflict resolution. And if you're not really adept at those skills, communication's the glue that holds everything together. So when someone says, I want to have a better relationship, after commitment, right? When someone comes to me and say, can you help me? Will you help me? The first thing I talk about was, well, talk to me about what you're committed to, right? There's no silver bullet. There's no magic wand that we're going to wave and things are going to just change. If you're committed to doing the work, then we can work on the communication and resolving conflict that gets in the way. So whether we're talking about business or relationships, if you're a great communicator or you're working at improving your communication, that is really critical, because I don't know about you, Cynthia, but I'm a horrible mind reader. And I cannot read my wife's mind. And I don't think she can read mine either. We might know each other pretty well and we can anticipate and think about what the other one might like, but it really comes down to great communication and then setting boundaries, right?
Yes.
There's things that I know I need to be the best version of myself. If I'm supposed to show up in this relationship and be effective and dedicated and supporting my partner, I got to take care of me, because if I'm not getting enough sleep, if my spiritual life is upside down, if I'm not taking care of my body and eating good foods and getting enough sleep and having the things I know I need to feel good and strong, it doesn't matter what her needs are. I'm going to burn out and it's not sustainable. So in my relationship with my wife, we each have boundaries that we've set with each other. There's non-negotiables, right? It's very important for me to have an hour about every morning of prayer, meditation, and study time. And so I get up early to do that. I love the morning. And she understands that. And she makes sure that I'm committed to doing that. Because if I'm going to show up the best for her and for other people in my family, in my business, in my community, that's a boundary I need. And I know that she has some of those boundaries as well. So we've agreed on what we each need as a minimum, and then what are the non-negotiables, right? That allows us then to come together and say, all right, we've talked about individual boundaries. Now, what kind of boundaries are we going to set in our relationship? How often are we going to go on a date? How often are we going to do an activity together? How often are we going to travel or get a getaway weekend with nobody, right? How often are we love to entertain. And because we love to do that and we say yes so much, we might get overscheduled. And when we get overscheduled, what happens? The relationship suffers. So it becomes about us negotiating, what do we have to do for the us to win once our individual needs and boundaries are met.
I like the 3 C's. Again, commitment, communications, conflict resolution.
Yeah, those are foundational in any personal or business relationship.
It seems that there's an increase in the divorce rate now. What do you think is the major reason of the increase of divorce rate? Is it poor communication or what?
I think that's part of it. I think we are trained more and more because of social media and immediate gratification.
Uh-huh.
Life is not about immediate gratification. I want it now, right? I want to get it now. People I think are not investing. As you know, there's seasons in life and there's seasons in relationships. It is not going to always be sunshine, rainbows, and blue skies. And I think understanding the seasons that you're in and having the commitment to be patient, right? To be patient with your spouse. It's pitiful patience, which means not getting angry because they did the same thing they've done two, three, four times
Mm.
again, right? That's patience. And I think, long-term commitment and long-term results. There's an expression, Rory Vaden, who's an author and a friend, and works with a wonderful company. He said, short-term easy equals long-term hard.
Yeah.
Short-term hard equals long-term easy. And when we make decisions in relationships that might be more difficult now, but they have a longer payoff, those are the kinds of decisions we've got to make in the relationship. It's like, when you think about a diet, someone says, I got to lose 50 pounds, but here's this big piece of chocolate cake. Man, I could eat it right now. Short term, it tastes good. I love it. And then 10 minutes when you're done, what did I just do? Oh, my stomach is killing me. All those calories, right? So the decisions in relationships, you got to make the short term hard decisions because that means they're going to be easier in the long term. And I think in divorce and relationships today, Cynthia, people are not willing or don't want to stay committed to all those short-term decisions and actions that may not be easy, but they're still the right thing.
I agree with you. And another thing also, because me in a relationship, whether romantic or friendship and family members, I still want the respect to be present as well. When there's respect, proper communication is being shown as well, and the love that you could offer to the other person. You know what? In the Philippines, there's no divorce. So it is hard to just stick with your spouse through thick and thin. So here in the US, I could observe that it's so easy to just have divorce. I know you are very God-centered. During the time of your marriage, was there a point in time wherein, oh, I need to divorce this person or no? Or is it because God was the center of your life?
Sure. I think because we were each so strong in our faith individually, I think that we knew we could work through it, and that was never mentioned or threatened. One of those non-negotiables, I think early on in our relationship, I think both of us told the other, like, fidelity is essential, and I think when we were dating and early, my wife's like, I don't think I can forgive somebody who cheated on me.
Yeah.
I don't think I could forgive. And I kind of said the same thing because I have some family experience with that. So there are some things that we talk about that are non-negotiables, but we never threatened or never were concerned, like, where are we going? We're going to go off a cliff and this isn't going to work. And because I think we both were committed to the idea that the grass is greener where you water it. Right? People look at a relationship and they go, oh, he this and she that, and all these win-lose, they always, they never. And, a lot of blame, right? And you think that you're going to get rid of these problems when you divorce and jump over to something else. But every relationship has its own set of problems. And if anybody thinks that's not the case, they're not true. I would consider our relationship to be incredibly strong, huge trust, and great commitment. Do we have issues? Absolutely. Do we argue? Yeah. Do we have heated conversations? It's usually pretty respectful. I tell my wife, she's like, you're just like this. You're flatline. You're never, I don't scream and shout, and I'm usually pretty calm. So we were able to have discussions and lovingly have, it's carefrontation instead of confrontation. So we're not tearing each other down and making the other one feel less so that we feel more. And you mentioned the word respect earlier. We have enough respect for each other to do that. It's like fighting fair. It means, and this sounds silly, but we've agreed when we have a disagreement. And sometimes we say, all right, we're going to have to just agree to disagree on this because we're not going to find a point that works for you and for me. So we're going to each keep where we are and just understand that moving forward. It's not about winning the day, like I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. You got to commit to win-win or no deal. Stephen Covey says win-win. So when you're making a decision about your relationship, about your marriage, if it doesn't work for your partner and for you, you shouldn't do it, because win-lose is not sustainable, because it builds resentment, right? And it's not about I'm right or I'm wrong. It's like, and there's always a third alternative, right? Could be compromise, as you mentioned earlier, but it's like, how can we both win? How can we either both get enough of what we want so we don't feel slighted, or, you know what? I want you to get what you need right now. How about next time we're in a similar situation talking about where we're going on vacation? How about I get to decide the next vacation? Would that feel good to you? I'm fine with that because I really want to go here right now. Great. Let's go where you want to go. And then next time I get to pick. Great. So we agree on that. It's not me giving in, but it's me saying, you know what? I can see how important this is to you. I want you to have that, right? I want to give that to you. And how about next time? Would you feel good if, right? It's compromise. It doesn't mean I'm losing, but it means I'm willing to sacrifice for my partner to get what is really important to them or what they may need in the moment. You know, my wife might say, I'm so stressed dealing with my parents and I just need a break. I really need some time by myself. I really want to do this. And I say, I want to give that to you because I want you to have what you need. How can we make that work? Or this is one of the best phrases. 3 phrases I think everybody should use in their relationships. The first one is, help me understand why this is so important to you, right? Secondly, what would your ideal outcome look like here? If you could have it exactly the way you wanted it, what would that look like? And then once you get that from them and you can repeat it back and they understand, the third and final question, Cynthia, is what can I do? How do you want me to support you in getting that ideal situation? How do you want me? Not how do I, most people love the way they want to love as opposed to the way the other person wants them to love them, right? So we got to get out of our way a little bit and say, how do you want me to show up for you? Maybe your partner says, just listen, just be here. Let me just vent. Great. Or I don't really know what to do. I'd love for you to help me consider some different solutions. Great. Right. Or, you know, I'm going to figure this out on my own. I don't want your input. I just want you to be aware of what I'm doing and where I'm going. Great. I'll be your cheerleader. I'll help, you know, or stay out of it totally. Right. So, and you're not mind reading, but you're saying, tell me what you need. How do you want me to show up for you? Because if I show up in that way, then you're going to say, he listened to me. He's giving me what I asked for. He's giving me what I need because I'm in touch and aware because I've had good communication with my partner on their needs and where they want to go and what they want to do.
I just love that because I don't usually see that in the spouses that I've met because they focus on me, rather than us. And marriage is all about what can I offer to make this relationship work rather than, oh, I want this, I want that, I want you to do that. It's not about really commanding, but it's really, as what you've mentioned, compromise, communication. We're not fortune tellers. I agree. And you know what? In the Philippines, we assume the guys would know what we want, and it's wrong. The reason why I became very submissive because it's the husband who would always tell me what to do, and I didn't get the chance to express my feelings. But now I've discovered after what I've gone through in an abusive relationship that, hey, you also have the right to speak up. You have the right to express your feelings. And it's not all about take. I mean, take what is given to you by your spouse, but you also need to give what you think would work in a relationship. A lot of learning that I have gone through and still learning, especially in 2 different cultures. And I'm glad that you've mentioned that, and I agree that this works in a relationship, especially in marriage. What happens, for example, you are in an argument? A lot of people would say, don't sleep without solving the problem. Is it better to solve the problem before you go to bed or let it?
That's a great question. And so I'm going to teach you an acronym, and it's called HALT, HALT, HALT. And the H, and if you are experiencing any of these physiological needs, the H stands for hungry. If you're hungry, the A is if you're angry, right? The L is if you're lonely, and the T is if you're tired. So this is a Gottman process. I've done a lot of Gottman training and I use it in my practice. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, physiological needs, you are not going to be effective in a discussion or in a relationship. If you're hungry, eat. If you're angry, have a cool down period, right? If you're flooded, when you're angry, you're flooded. Your frontal lobe is so full of the issue, you're not thinking rationally and you're not going to be effective. So the answer, if you're angry, and it doesn't mean, so in every relationship, Cynthia, maybe you've heard this, there's either a distancer or a pursuer. Okay. Those are two roles. And in my relationship, my wife is a distancer, meaning when there's conflict, she says, I want to back up, I want to think, I want to process, and I want to come back later. Okay. When I'm in a conflict, I'm a pursuer. I'm like, let's get it now. Let's talk about it now. Let's solve it now. I want an answer. Let's take it off the table, right? So I'm pursuing. Most couples are one or the other. It's rare that both are distancers or both are pursuers, right? So if you understand that dynamic and now we're in a heated argument, hey, you know what? I can see you feel really passionately about this right now. We're starting to raise the temperature in here. Let's take a break. Go for a walk, read a book, watch a show. You know, I don't think we're making progress right now. Can we meet another time, right? Can we talk and come back and just address this another time? And if there's any of those physiological needs, HALT, get them taken care of. Because I'm a morning person, Cynthia, if my wife wants to have a conversation with me past 10 o'clock at night and it's serious, it involves a lot of energy, it's probably not going to happen. Because I get up at 5 in the morning, right? And so at 10:30, I'm winding down, I'm yawning, I'm tired. And she comes in and says, hey, there's a few things I want to talk to you about. And they're serious or they're weighty. My shoulders let down and I go, oh no. And early in our relationship, she used to get angry and frustrated. You never want to talk to da. I said, babe, I'm happy to talk. It's all about the timing. And so if you know that's not a good time, the conversation becomes, hey, there's a few things I really want to go over with you or talk about. When's a good time for us to do that? And then schedule it. I mean, on the calendar as an appointment, because we also had it happen. She'd go, I want to talk to you sometime about this. And I'd say, great, let's talk sometime. And then she'd say, I'm angry because we never had that conversation. And I said, hold on. I said, it's nice to express your desire, but I need you to be the one that says, let's book it. Because if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. So it's like saying, you know what? I want to eat some Chinese sometime. Okay. Does that mean that I should now book an appointment for us to go have dinner at a Chinese restaurant? Right. And then if I don't, I'm at fault. Okay. So it's about really understanding the needs. And back to your specific question, if either or both of you are flooded, meaning you're so angry and the volume's up and you're not seeing straight, take a time out. It could be an hour, it could be a day, but agree. Just because you're taking a time out, like with your kid, when your kid's just, having a tantrum, you're not going to reason with your child when they're on the floor kicking and screaming. You're going to say, go to your room, take a time out, and then we'll come back and reconnect on this when we're both of better minds.
So will there be a problem if both of you are pursuer?
No, because you're both going to want to get it done right now. Let's get it done. Let's talk about it. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's solve this. Okay.
So
right. And if you're both distancers, hey, I need some time. Yeah, me too. I'm not ready to talk about this right now. Neither am I.
Yes.
When should we come back? Well, I want to do some research. I've got this on my plate. I got to finish this first. How about we do it tomorrow morning over coffee? Works for me. Great. Okay. A lot of couples have challenges in their relationships because the next time never comes. Cynthia, if a friend says, hey, Cynthia, let's have dinner sometime, what would your response be to that?
For me, sure.
Okay, but when is sometime?
Yes.
When is sometime? It could be never, right? So you got to say, yeah, I'd like to. What day works for you?
Yeah.
At what time? Right? Yeah. You're going to follow, and instead of it being sometime and someday, I want to travel. I want to retire someday. I want to travel more someday. I want to save 20 grand someday, right? If it doesn't have a smart goal around it, it's just a wish. right? The difference between a dream and reality is an action plan to get there. And we kind of don't think about that in our relationships because we have a lot of elasticity and we think our partner will understand. They'll understand if I'm late. They'll understand if I said we're going to do this, but we don't do it today, it happens another day, right? Because we think they understand when really we're just taking advantage of the relationship and we're not investing in it instead.
Wonderful insights. Now, leadership is about getting people to move in the same direction. How do you coach couples to set a mission statement for their family that feels as compelling as a corporate vision?
Yeah. So are you talking corporate or are you talking personal?
Actually, I'm trying to combine.
Trying to combine both.
Yeah, because in the corporate world, we have a vision statement. Is there
Right.
also something like a vision statement in marriage?
Absolutely. And one of the tools that I've developed, and I use this in business and I use this in relationship, is called the Relationship Magna Carta, an RMC. You've probably heard of a Magna Carta, right? The Magna Carta says it was developed by King John in the 13th century in England because all the lords said, you are taxing us, and we're having to give you all this stuff, but what do we get out of it? Right? The people said, we're paying all these taxes to you and these lords, but why should we do that? What's the benefit? So he goes, okay, we're going to write a Magna Carta, which is going to say, what are we each responsible for? And what are the benefits we get? So in that relationship Magna Carta that I work with couples on, I help them define commitment. And they each talk about what does commitment mean to them? And we get it honed down into 3 or 4 daily activities. We are going to commit to doing these things on a regular basis to demonstrate our commitment. Okay. And one of those things might be, and they define it, and the couple says, if we're committed to each other in the most perfect way, these are the things we're doing. And we do the same thing in communication. We're going to commit to a 10-minute check-in every day. We're going to commit to having at least 6 or 8 small interactions throughout the day, a phone call, a handhold, a text, a FaceTime, a walk. We're going to do all these things in communication so that we're on the same page and we're connected to each other. And then when problems or conflicts arise, how are we going to address them? One of mine was, we're not going to scream at each other because screaming turns me off. It closes me down and it's disrespectful. So we talk about all the things that we're going to do on a daily basis and we define them and write them out and the couples make them their own. So then when there's an issue in the relationship, instead of me pointing the finger and saying, you never, you always, you don't, you won't, you can't, you can say, hey, let's go back to our RMC. How well are we doing on these things that we said are important? Ooh, we said we're going to have no screaming communication. I lost it last night and I raised my voice. I'm so sorry. I can do a much better job on that. What do we have to do to be doing these daily demonstrable things in the areas that are most important in our relationship? So it's kind of a Magna Carta. It's a guideline, a roadmap to what success looks like. I do that with couples and I do that with organizations because most people, Cynthia, and companies, if they show up, they say, what are the things I need to do today to be successful for me and successful for the company? Most people have no idea. They don't know. There might be a vision or mission statement on the wall. How does that translate to me, my action and my job, and what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
So when a company has that relationship Magna Carta and they say, this is what we expect from you in commitment. This is how you're going to communicate with each other, with management, with our clients and our contractors. When problems arise, this is how we're going to solve them and how we're going to get to success so there's no roadblocks. Everybody needs to know, what do I got to do every day to be most successful, either in my relationship or in my business? And when you take the time and do the framing and the hard work to sort that out, it becomes easy and it's not personal because it's more about how well are you doing these things? And you can use it as a hiring tool, a review tool. Imagine and a business as I know does this, he takes his RMC and when he meets with a company and goes, this is who we are. This is how we're going to show commitment to you. How do you want us to show? What do you need to see from us to know that we're committed to you? Oh, I want a weekly call. I want a report. Oh, okay. How do you want us to communicate with you? How do you want to get information between our two companies about the business deals we're doing? Ask. And now you know what you've got to deliver to them so that they know you're committed, you're communicating, and when conflicts and problems arise, which they will, they don't have relationship ending power, and you can work through them for greater success.
Wonderful. So when would you suggest to have because when you just join the company, they usually share this information during the onboarding. In marriage, could they start talking about the RMC during dating or at the start of marriage?
Absolutely. I mean, I would love if I could work with more couples that are thinking about getting committed or before they get married or early on. It's kind of, you may have had with your children or parents, if you think of younger generation, it's like when you have someone who's had the experiences and stubbed the toes and made the bruises and made the mistakes, you don't have to learn by making a mistake.
Yeah.
I think we often learn most from our mistakes, but
Mhm.
wouldn't it be nice in a marriage if you got to skirt and do a detour around a lot of the things that you, others have run into? You don't have to get hurt to know that you're not going to put your hand on the hot stove and get burned, right? You don't
Mhm.
want your child to learn that lesson. You want them to say, don't do that because it's going to harm you, and have them go, oh, yeah, I don't want to get harmed that way. I'd rather learn from somebody else's mistake. And
Yes.
so the earlier you can in a relationship, the better. But the good news is it's never too late for repair.
Yes.
Never. You
Yes.
can always, now it takes two. It doesn't just mean one person's doing all the work and the other's like, I love it. You're giving me what I want. You're serving me, and there's nothing on the other side. That's a problem. But
Mhm.
some people say, oh, we've been together for 20 years. It's been horrible for 5. There's no way we could repair. That's not true. It's not
Mhm.
true at all. It's just, are you committed to
Yes.
doing the work and changing things about you and your relationship? If you are, and you really care about it, there's no reason why you can't change and turn it around. No reason.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Because marriage is not about the fun time, the dating, and so on. It's really working, especially during the times when you are having problems or you're in conflict or there are disagreements. How are you able to make adjustments, to give in sometimes to the other, and then, well, trying to work things out? Okay, I like the discussion.
It's fun. I do
Yeah.
too.
So, what are your goals now for the next 12 months?
That's a great question. So I've been working under the hood, you could say, of my business a lot. I've changed web platforms. I've changed my CRM. I'm changing my sales process. So I've been doing all the things kind of that are back facing, not necessarily customer facing, so I can serve my people better, more efficiently, more effectively. And I'm excited because I'm learning more tools and things that I can pass on now that I'm better organized in hosting my website and my services and the way I provide my services and the value adds I give to my clients. So my goal is to really, I'm starting to ramp up and grow my business and help more people achieve the success that they want in their businesses or in their relationships. So my goal in the next 12 months, I want to touch more than 150 people and help
How
them.
are you going to do that?
I'm going to do that by helping them establish the patterns, the tools, and the systems that will help them solve the issues they're facing right now and get them to the place they want to be, and they've not been able to.
What I mean is, you have now changed your platforms. How are you able to connect with your clients now?
Great question. So I run webinars every month, and they're kind of workshops. I do it twice a month. Starting in the middle of August, I'll be doing it. The title of the webinar is How to Grow Your Business Without, being overwhelmed. And people think the biggest lie in business is that I've got to work more hours in order to achieve more results and success. In the webinar, I kind of debunk that and teach people what they can do. So that's when people understand what I do and how I do it. I give them some complimentary sessions, and they get introduced to what I do. They talk and see the case studies and people I've worked with, and they become clients. So I'm going to do that through continuing with these webinars and opening up and giving, the gift that I have to help people do that. That's the best way that I know to get clients for me in my business.
Yeah, wonderful. That's why I also do my master class. That's how you introduce yourself, your service, and what's the framework that you're using to
Sure.
really help other people. So what would be your major blockage in achieving this goal or goals?
I think it's getting misdirected, not staying focused and aligned with what I really want to do. I'm a big fan of the rifle approach, meaning a lot of concentrated effort into one thing, as opposed to the shotgun approach where I'm going to throw 8 or 10 things against the wall. They each get a very small piece of me or my focus, but you don't make progress on anything. What I preach is what I try to practice. And if I can stay laser focused and put my effort to the single biggest lever on a daily, weekly basis, the results will come. And I'm confident in that because it's demonstrated over and over again for me. There's a wonderful African proverb that says, as you pray, move your feet. So I'm not sitting here praying saying, hey, God, give me this gift, throw it in my lap. I'm praying and listening and asking and trying to keep myself out of it. And how can I serve better, give more, and elevate others? But then I'm also listening and doing the work I'm led to do, which will help lead to results. So focused action, concentrated effort, that rifle approach on the biggest lever every day for me, undoubtedly is going to bring the results. It always has. It does for my clients as well. And that's why they stay with me longer than a year. I've got, most of my clients are with me more than 9 or 12 months. And so because they continue to grow and get results they want.
Yes, it's good to have, well, I call it mastermind group, inner circle, wherein you learn from each other. Even my mastermind group, I learn from each participant because most of the time we focus on what we want to focus, having a binocular, but then not realizing that, hey, they also have some ways or different views on how to see things in a different way. So I see the problem in a different way, something like that. And
Sure.
I like what you mentioned, prayer and work. That's my motto. I've been raised by a Benedictine school. They taught us about ora et labora. It's a Latin word for prayer and work. God will not give you everything on a silver platter. You need to take action. You need to work at the same time pray. And that's what I always follow. And before we end, what would be your simple advice to our listeners?
One of my favorite questions is to ask the right questions. That's my advice. But I would say the right question is an open-ended one. It's not a yes, no. It requires thought and application. And so one of the questions I ask myself all the time, Cynthia, is what more can I do?
Mm-hmm.
What more can I do here? What more can I do with this person, with this client on this thing? Because I truly believe that when you lead with the desire to serve and give, you receive. If you lead with the desire to get and take and receive, it just doesn't work out.
I agree.
Never works out or goes well.
That's the law of circulation wherein we were taught to always give, give, give. But we'll get drained if we don't have that grace of receiving as well. For you to be able to serve, you have to receive something as well. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's divine. I call that divine economics.
Divine economics.
Because
yes.
God doesn't bless you and hurt somebody else. There's just blessing. It's not, if it's good for one, right? What blesses one blesses all. I believe that. Yes. And so someone's positive can't be somebody else's negative, because I don't think that's how the divine economy works.
Yes. Wow, what a wonderful interview we had. And how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, best way to find me is on our website, MatthewPHoffman.com. If you go there, you can sign up for a complimentary session. Not a sales pitch. It's just, what's the biggest issue that you're having that you'd like to make progress and traction on? I'll spend some time with you. And my goal is to help you make those forward steps on what's bugging you most, because that's what I help people do. And so that's the gift I'd like to give anybody listening today. go to my website. You can learn about me. You can see the testimonials and what I do. But I'd love for you to sign up for a complimentary call. And I'd love to give you value by helping you make progress on one of those most important things to you right now.
So you're also active on social media, Facebook.
I
You
am.
have an
Yeah,
account?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on
So
LinkedIn,
they'll just look
YouTube,
for Matthew
TikTok.
Hoffman.
Yeah, MatthewPHoffman.com. And if you
Uh,
search me, MPH Coaching, is you can see the logo on my background there. MPH Coaching is where you can find more about me on any of the social platforms.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Matthew, for
My pleasure.
this wonderful opportunity, you being my guest, and a lot of valuable insights were surely shared to our listeners.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, and I wish you all the best on your coaching
Likewise. I
movement.
appreciate the opportunity, and I'm sure we'll connect and talk again.
Yes, thank you.